Hello everybody, and a warm welcome to our end of year assembly and prize giving. I hope you've had a great morning with a fantastic quiz and house assemblies to draw this year to a close. But for the very first time in our history, we are gathering together for this end of year assembly and prize giving in studies, in bedrooms, in kitchens and sitting rooms across the world. And so this morning we've put together a combination of live presentations and video messages. And whilst we don't quite have the production budget of the latest Netflix drama, we hope that you'll get a real sense of what you have all achieved in this incredible year. And this is the closest I've ever got to being on live TV. And whilst we think we've worked out the technology, if there is a glitch, we're going to record everything and then we'll send it out to you as soon as we can. But in the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to review the year. We will consider the impact of an interrupted year with a guest speaker. We will be announcing the A-level, GCSE, fourth form, co-curricular and contribution to school prizes that would normally feature at COMEM, and we will also be saying a number of goodbyes. But before we get into the detail of the year, I'm delighted that the Warden of Dean Close Foundation, Mrs. Taylor, has joined us here in the Bacon Theatre, and she's going to be giving us a broader perspective on the school's year. Over to Mrs. Taylor.
Headmaster, thank you so much for inviting me to be here and for your welcome. It's really good to be with you all. The American writer and business leader Alvin Toffler was known for his far-sighted writing on modern technologies and culture. In his book, The Third Wave, as far back as 1980, he foresaw such technological advances as cloning, personal computers, the internet, cable television, and mobile communications. He didn't, as far as I know, foresee the occurrence or the impact of a global pandemic, but not much else passed him by. Alvin Toffler said this: "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Well, most of us teachers would sign up to this view or something like it, that to be successful or even to survive in the modern era, the key is to be able to learn, unlearn and relearn new information, new skills and new approaches. But most of us would, if we're honest, until recently, have thought that this largely applied to you, the pupils, and not to us, the teachers. This pandemic has shown us differently. Teachers have had to go back to the drawing board, or more accurately, back to the online shared notebook. Knowledge is still knowledge, and great teaching is still great teaching, but the speed with which our teachers have had to grapple with new techniques and technology in order to disperse this knowledge, this teaching, this quality of education given to pupils, that speed has been quite extraordinary. As the Headmaster said, most of this assembly will be, just as it should be, about the pupils, about you and your many achievements and your accomplishments during this academic year. And I, with many others, have watched in admiration as you have taken greater control of your own learning and your own development, showing curiosity, creativity, and care for others despite the constraints of lockdown. But I wanted to take my opportunity as someone who is involved, but not as closely or intimately as the Headmaster and his team in the work of the school. I wanted to take this opportunity to commend to you the work of your teachers and of the many other staff in the background who have made their work possible. Where during this period would we have been without the IT technicians, for example? And so many other parts of the infrastructure have been unseen, particularly while everybody has been off-site. But the finance, the HR teams, the catering and cleaning staff, and many others, you won't have been aware of them, but they have been making sure that the oiling of the machinery of the school went well, and that teachers were enabled to be quite brilliant for your sakes. And the provision here at Dean Close has, in my view, been second to none. The Headmaster and the senior team have moved mountains to ensure that you are not disadvantaged. Indeed, that you may even have learned more, given the requirement for adaptation and independence, than you would have done in school. I've been particularly impressed by the quality of what's been offered for the fifth form and the upper sixth. It's not been easy having those end-of-course public exams which you've been preparing for whipped away from you at the 11th hour. But unlike many other places, Dean Close has grasped the opportunity to offer pupils more than would normally be possible in a standard examination year. The breadth and fascinating subject matter of the pre-university programme provided for the upper sixth has been admired by many another school. I have basked in the glory vicariously. And the Eton X online courses and A-level introductions for the fifth form have gone well beyond what has been offered elsewhere. There are few things that aid learning more than a really good example, and I'm confident that the way your headmaster, school leaders and teachers have demonstrated creativity, innovation and openness to professional development will have rubbed off on the attitude to learning of every single pupil. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. Well, no illiteracy at Dean Close School, quite the reverse. And I would love you to join me quietly in congratulating and thanking the headmaster, the leadership team, the teachers and all the other staff for their phenomenal response to an unforeseeable and significant challenge. Thank you, Headmaster.
So before we move to our prize, I just want to say thank you hugely to Mrs Taylor, both for her very fine words indeed, but also for the support that she has given us all to help us through this phase. But this year, more than any other year, September seems a distant memory and almost like it came from another time. It was filled with some of the things that shape us as a community. Our lessons, buns, house socials, Congo, concerts, matches, plays, quizzes, international events, the list goes on. And these events provide the frame for the activities that we take part in. But our academic life has taken significant steps forward this year. And if I was to pick a theme for the year, is that we have seen more evidence of learning taking place beyond the classroom. From our hosting of a citywide education question time, the brilliant engagement we had with the general election, the highest number of submissions for critical essays, EPQs and national essay competitions that we've ever seen, the brilliant Science Week led by Evan Little, the engagement of the fifth form with their A-level skills sessions this term, the upper sixth pre-university seminars, and the outstanding way, and I mean truly outstanding way, in which the fourth form, the remove, and the lower sixth have kept their academic momentum going this term. Full praise to all of you. So this year our academic study has had to move beyond the classroom. It has become more independent, and we want to hold on to that as we move forwards. We have shown ourselves to be curious, resilient, and an adaptable community of learners. We've also enjoyed some great days out on the sports field this year, with some record-breaking achievements on the hockey pitch, indoors and out, and the rugby pitch. 4 teams out of 4 qualified for the National Indoor Hockey Finals. The under-14 girls missed out on a place in their final by a single goal, and the under-18 boys beat the tournament favourites in the National Under-18 semi-finals before being awarded the title of 2020 Joint National Champions. That on its own would be extraordinary. But when you consider that in the same week, the first 15 rugby were due to play in the Plate National Final of the school's rugby tournament, you begin to get a sense of just what this small school can do. And with a sixth form year group containing about 100 boys in total, we regularly find ourselves matching schools several times our size and competing on more than one front. But no review of our sporting year would be complete without mentioning the superb achievements of the under-15B and the second 15 rugby teams, who went undefeated for an entire season. It was a joy to watch their seasons come into such a successful conclusion way back in December. But this year was also about seeing some fresh shoots of change. 2 early morning running clubs, the rebirth of a basketball club, and the first booked-in girls' cricket fixtures, even though we didn't actually get to bowl a ball. And in recent weeks we have seen Strava cycle and running clubs and lifestyle diaries that will help us all to be that little bit more accountable. And one of the things that has sustained us right the way through the year, when we've been here and when we haven't, has been our spiritual, our creative and our cultural life. Stunning productions, inspiring concerts, thought-provoking chapel services, beautiful food and some extraordinary art exhibitions have all added to our lives in ways that we may be not fully appreciating at the moment. But to see this continue in our lockdown world through photography, Shakespeare sonnets, devised plays, concerts, recitals, reports of great food being cooked, and some great moments on the weekly chapel podcasts and services. In the last 3 days alone, I've listened to the Sinfonia performing the Brandenburg Concerto, the choir singing a setting of A Blessing by John Rutter, the lower sixth and fourth form theatre studies groups performing their own productions, members of the Remove reciting poetry. Our artistic output has been nothing that we've seen before. The standout thing for me this year, overall, has been seeing more pupils taking more responsibility for leading projects. Ethan Barham's Blackadder, numerous chapel talks, the Fieldhouse Trio's production of arts, the phenomenal craft of the likes of Jack Coombs, Beth Ellison, Felix Nelson and Grace Greaves et al. On this Bacon stage. You have all grown through these experiences and helped us all to flourish. Now, until March, we were on a normal track for a normal summer term of exams and celebrations, and then everything changed. And whilst I can talk for hours about the amount that we have learned through this time, there is no denying that it has been tough. And for 2 year groups in particular, the 5th and the upper 6th, you have had to take a dramatic left turn, and you've done it brilliantly. We thought it'd be good to talk to someone else in a very different walk of life who has had to make a similar adjustment. And fortunately for us, Mr. Hall is incredibly well connected, and I'm going to hand over to him now to introduce our guest speaker. Mr. Hall.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salisbury. Last week I had the privilege of meeting up with European and World Championship gold medalist Oliver Cook, who is a member of the Great Britain rowing squad and had been selected to represent his country at this year's Tokyo Olympics. I spoke to Oliver about his journey from schoolboy rower to Olympic selection, the elation of that selection and the disappointment that Tokyo had been postponed. As a schoolboy, Oliver rowed across the English Channel with his brother Jamie, and a few years later he rowed 1,000 kilometres on the upper reaches of the Zambezi, raising funds for charity. Having just missed out on a place to go to Rio in 2016, he opted for a change of scenery and gained a distinction for his master's degree in history at Oxford University in 2017, and in the same year won the Oxford and Cambridge boat race. I asked Oliver whether he had any advice for our pupils who had worked so hard for so many years towards that end point of their final exams and have had all of that suddenly taken away from them. This is just a short snippet of that interview, but we will be publishing the full version in due course.
Can you describe for me that feeling when you received the phone call to let you know that you'd been selected to represent GB in Tokyo, in what is undeniably the world's greatest sporting event?
I was driving down to my grandmum's funeral, and I just got a phone call from the coach, not Jürgen, us, the coach is in charge of our kind of boat, Christian, and he doesn't normally call, so I pulled over and called Christian back, and he said, yeah, Jürgen's announced the Olympic team, but he sort of said it in such a way that it sounded a bit disappointing. And he was the bearer of a bit of bad news, so I thought, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, okay, Ollie. Good news, you're going to the Olympic Games. Oh, okay, good. But he wouldn't say that if there was like, you know, it might be okay, but it's a spare or something. And you are in the four. I said, oh, I think I said, is that good? I think. And he said, yeah, it's very good news. And it was a very, very sad day, because my grandmom was a really special woman. To go down to the funeral and to then be able to tell my parents after the service and things that actually it was all, it had happened, it worked out. It had been, for me, 8 years now in the team, and 4 years of getting to the point of being the last guy who didn't make it in, the other guy still left on the bench. It was awesome. It was really, really cool, and I think worth it. When the games did get postponed, I think I was probably just really relieved they were not cancelled. But I think as the sort of last kind of few years are going on, I think I've been really enjoying reading a little bit about. I think as it's called sort of Stoic philosophy, I think, and I know very, very little about it. The only impression I have really is that there are things in life that are controllable and things that are out of your control. There are many, many things that are out of your control. And in fact, the only real thing you can control is your response to things that are happening. And that's something which no matter if things are really good things that are happening to you, or things that on the face of it look like very difficult circumstances, the way you respond to it is something which you can control, no matter if it's kind of these big ups or these big downs. And I'd spent a lot of this year actually, probably rightly or wrongly, thinking, okay, I can do this because this is probably the last time that I do this, or this is the last time that I do that. And so when the games got postponed, it suddenly felt like a really long time. When the games went from being in 100 days time to being 500 days time. I think that was sort of definitely a bit frustrating. And suddenly a few kind of these key moments started coming by. The first time we were going to race internationally, the Olympic announcement day, the team, the kit day, these things that I think for me 4 years ago I'd missed out on, and I was really looking forward to enjoying them this year. But for me, I think the guiding point has actually been, well, I can't control what's going to happen about the Olympic Games. I can't control how they're going to be run, the date that that's going to be taking place. If it even takes place in Tokyo at all, or some other hodgepodge patchwork of events or something, or maybe the friends and family can't come and watch. I can't control any of those things. But what I can control is doing my training. I can get back to the basics of preparing to train and training well. And why don't I see how well I can do that? How well can I train at home? How well can I use the time that now I've got a whole day. I don't have to turn up at a certain time of the day to be on the water of everybody else. How do I now best set up a day for me?
Just thank you for your time today. Just brilliant.
Honestly, it's been to get your message. I told everybody about it. So hey, we believe this. I guess it's fantastic. So no, it's very nice to be asked, and it's great to be able to talk through some of these things. Useful for me as well, I think.
Good.
Thank you very much. Actually, thanks. It's been very nice to be asked.
Brilliant. I hope you found that very interesting. As I said, the longer version, and there's a huge amount that Ollie shares with us, and that's definitely worth looking out for at a later date. But thank you very much, Mr. Hall, for giving us that opportunity. So we're moving now into the part of our assembly where we'll be announcing the names of those who have been awarded prizes for a wide variety of aspects of school life. And we must acknowledge from the outset that the nature of prizes means that not everyone will get one. And if they did, we would call it present giving as opposed to prize giving. So these prizes are not the sum of all that has been achieved this year, but they do point to what can be done and what has been done by you and your peers. And for that, I congratulate you all. If you are a prize winner, details of how you can collect your prizes will be sent out next week. So we're going to have a short introduction video, just 20 seconds or so, and then I'm going to hand over to Mr. Wilkes, who will read us the A-level prizes.
Good morning, school, and a particularly warm welcome to the upper sixth. It's great to see you virtually, though it is. I'd like to start by saying you don't deserve this. and by that I mean for your year to finish this way. I've known quite a few upper sixth year groups now, and one has to be a little biased, but you're probably my favourite. Now, I'd just like to say before I start giving out the prizes that speaking to my colleagues, heads of departments and teachers, this has been one of the hardest years to actually decide who got what. So as Mr. Salisbury just said, it is not the be-all and end-all, but we wanted to recognise a few individuals for their academic achievement over the course of this year and throughout their time at Dean Close. So, without further ado, here are the prizes for the Academic A-Level Awards. Winning the Flecker Prize for Further Maths, the Clay Prize for Physics, and the Bacon Prize for Chemistry Practical Award is Evan Little. The prize winner for the Flecker Prize for Single Mathematics is Sumiri Kamore. Winning the Clay Prize for Physics Practical Award is Zach Truscott. Winning the Bacon Prize for Chemistry is Tara Cho. Winning the Woodard Prize for Biology is Hunyi Lee. Winning the Woodard Prize for Biology Practical is Adam Gower. Winning the award for Psychology is Eliza Young. For Computer Science, Oliver Wood. And the Major Rickaby Prize for Physical Education, Isabel Viant. Moving on to Literature and Languages, winning the Goner Prize for English is Felix Nelson. Winning the Flecker Prize for Classics is Anushka Holland. Winning the Griffiths and Waller Prize for French is Susie Hicks Beach. Winning the Griffiths and Waller Prize for Spanish is Sam Burgess. Moving on to Humanities, winning the John Bailey Prize for History is Alice Deasy. Winning the Flecker Prize for Religious Studies is Jack Coombs. Winning the Sir Charles Irving Cup for Politics, Susie Main. The Woodward Economic Prize is won by Vaisi Yang. The Burette Prize for Geography, Imogen Sneath. And Alfred Henson gains the Woodard Prize for Business. And last but not least, moving on to the creative choices, Imogen Sneath picks up a second prize, winning the Leeds Prize. Niels Philip Sorensen wins the Major Rickaby Prize for Art. Fiona Marr, the Major Rickaby Prize for Design Technology. And last but not least, Lois Dunning wins the David Lepine Prize for Academic Music. A huge well done to all of you as prize winners, but more so to you as a whole year group for coping with these very strange circumstances. It's a great shame that we can't say goodbye to you in the usual way, but I hope we will all meet again soon. You should be really proud of all your achievements, and please know that we are always here to support you, whatever the next step may be. A little word to the lower sixth. You have a lot to live up to, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys can do next year. Without further ado, I hand you back to Mr. Salisbury. Thank you very much, guys. Well done.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Wilkes, and a huge congratulations to all of you in the upper sixth on the way that you finished this year. And a particular thanks to both Mr. Wilkes and Mr. Allen for a fantastic quiz this morning. It was great to see so many of you engaged with that. We're now going to move on to the GCSE prizes, and we welcome to the stage Mrs. Donaldson, who will be announcing those of you in the fifth form who have picked up one of those prizes. Mrs. Donaldson.
I'd like to start by saying well done to everyone on such a great year, and in particular I'd like to thank you all for engaging so well and making such good progress with the remote learning that we've had to do. For the fifth form and the upper sixth, but particularly for the fifth form, it is a shame that you didn't get to show off your knowledge in the exams this summer, but I hope you've all enjoyed the sessions that have been put on for you. Moving on to the GCSE awards. Firstly, the Maths and Science prizes. Ji-Yoon Lee has been awarded the Flecker Prize for Mathematics and the Bacon Prize for chemistry. Jed Nelson has been awarded the Clay Prize for physics and the Computer Science Prize. Georgie Powell has been awarded the Woodward Prize for biology, and Alice Howitt has been awarded the Major Rickaby Prize for physical education. Moving on to the Literature and Languages Prizes, Emily Forge has been awarded the Goner Prize for English and the Flecker Prize for Classics. Helena Montgomery has been awarded the Griffiths and Waller Prize for French, and Oscar Jack the Griffiths and Waller Prize for Spanish. Next are the Humanities Prizes. Jemima Holland has been awarded the John Bailey Prize for History and the Flecker Prize for Religious Studies. Katie Smart is awarded the Barrett Prize for Geography. Anastasia Tokareva, the Charles and Elizabeth Prize for Religious Studies. Nick Schuback is awarded the Woodward Prize for Economics, and Millie Watkins the Woodward Prize for Business. Finally, to the Creative Prizes. Lucy Brooks is awarded the Food Prep and Nutrition Prize. Mirabelle Troughton is awarded the Major Rickaby Prize for Art 2D. Louisa Neal is awarded the Major Rickaby Prize for Art 3D. Nick Schuback is awarded the Major Rickaby Prize for Design Technology. Ji-Yoon Lee is awarded the David Lapine Prize for Academic Music. And Daisy Mason is awarded the Theatre Studies Prize. I'd like to say congratulations to all of the prize winners. I wish you all a safe and enjoyable holiday, and I really look forward to seeing you all again in person in September. Have a great holiday.
So many congratulations to all of you. I have to say it's a little bit strange not applauding. It's normally very good for my step counts prize giving, but we're not going to get that today. I've just spent the last couple of days reading through the Remove reports as well, and I must say how brilliantly you have done as a group on just keeping going and are really ready for the year to come. So very well done to you. I'm joined now by Mr. George, and Mr. George is going to be announcing the names of the members of the fourth form who have particularly stood out for their effort grades. Mr. George.
Thank you, Headmaster. Good afternoon, everybody. It's very good to be with you. Before I give you the top 10 effort scores from this term, I just want to say to the whole year group, a big well done. Looking at the effort scores across the entire year group, they are some of the best efforts we have seen for a number of years. So in the strangest of terms, you've worked very hard and well done. But here are the top 10 names. Arya Moodley, Michael Lee, Venetia Nembang, Ayo Sotan Peters, Cassian Picaroca, Gabby Rogers, Neil Curry, Jacob Smith, Livy Mason, and Fionn Hillman. Well done to you, but well done everybody. And I echo what's been said. We all look forward very much to seeing you back in September. Thank you.
Now, some of our prizes go across individual subjects and are awarded for those entering either a particular profession or for academics excellence across a number of subjects. And Mr. Hull, the Deputy Head Academic, is going to be announcing the names of the all-round academic prizes.
The Aberdale Trust Prize for Engineering at University or Practical Contribution goes to Fergus Large. The Lord Ribeiro Prize for Medical Sciences goes to Nina Council. The Massart Wheat Prize for Contribution to European Studies goes to Tash Foster. The Napier Prize for Academic Research goes to Emily Smith. The Napier Prize for Endeavour in the Classroom goes to Phoebe Howell. The Napier Prize for Endeavour in the Classroom also goes to Seb Sword. The Leslie Young Prize for All-Round Academic Excellence goes to Beth Ellison. The Alfred Roberts Prize for All-Round Academic Excellence goes to Susie Main. And the Bellaby Award for All-Round Academic Excellence goes to Susie Hicks-Beach. Congratulations to all prize winners and all winners of academic prizes. I'd like to finish by thanking pupils of all years for working so cooperatively online this term. For those of you in years returning in September, remarkably, we're not far off where we should be at this time of the year, which is an absolute testament to your hard work. In particular, I'd like to thank the fifth form and the upper sixth for how you have really engaged during this term. In the first 3 weeks of term, where things were changing pretty much on a daily basis, your work on the Eton-X courses before half term, and your participation in A-level preparation and university seminars sessions. Staff have really enjoyed teaching you, which is an absolute credit to you. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hull. Now, about a third of our school time is set aside for the learning that takes place outside the classroom, and this covers a wide range of skills and interests and can be some of the hardest prizes to decide, particularly when you have a strong year in one area or another. But Mr. Hall has rejoined us, and he's going to be reading out the names for those who've been awarded a co-curricular prize.
Research suggests that participation in extracurricular, or what we prefer to call co-curricular activities, like music, dance and sport, can have a positive effect on both educational attainment and career outcome. Firstly, because it somehow sets candidates apart from other applicants, and secondly, that participation in sport indicates that the individual is seen to be a good team player. This is not only true for sport, but it is also true for those individuals who have been a member of the choir, musical ensemble, or cast in a play, because it demonstrates an element of dedication and commitment beyond what is obligatory. We believe wholeheartedly in the co-curriculum because of its ability to significantly enrich pupils' lives on an emotional, cognitive, physical, and social level. This year's co-curricular awards are as follows. The Major Golder Prize for services to CCF goes to Evan Little, Army Leadership Prize to Jack Tolchard, the Best Recruit in Training to Charlie Harris, and the Lieutenant Colonel Denley Endeavour Sword to Georgia Fawkes. In drama, the Bayford Prize for Drama goes to Jack Coombs, and the Bayford Prize for Contribution to Drama goes to Beth Ellison. The King Reynolds Prize for Drama in the junior section goes to Lily Griffiths, and the Speech and Drama Prize to Ben Stafford. Services to drama working behind the scenes backstage this year goes to Caitlin Mahoney. In music, the David Watson Prize for Choir goes to Lois Dunning, the David Lepine Prize for Orchestra to Hunyi Lee, and the Emily Kent Cup for Light Music goes to Hyun Lee. The David Lepine Prize for Composition goes to Oscar Jack. The Christopher Edwards Cup for Contribution to Music goes to Nina Council, and Services to Music Prize goes to Zach Truscott. In sport, Bella Stevens receives the Hall Award for Achievement in Equestrianism, and Oliver Dodman the Hall Award for Services to Equestrianism. Susie Carter and Frederick Philip Sorensen win the Forbes Sports Awards for contribution to sport at a junior level. And at senior level, the Swan Sports Awards go to Abigail Norwood and Liam McInnes for their unstinting all-round contribution throughout their combined 24 plus years at Dean Close. Estella De Pere received the award for Outstanding Sportswoman of the Year, having represented Great Britain in biathlon for the past 3 years. And with this, we wish Estella every success going forward. Jacob Payton has been awarded the Outstanding Sportsman of the Year, following his selection to represent England under-18 hockey and an invitation to train with the England under-21 squad, along with being the top goal scorer at this year's National Indoor Finals. Very well done to all of those who have received prizes, but we also acknowledge those who did not get prizes, as the headmaster has already said. In my conversation with Oliver Cook, he was very quick to point out that without the other athletes pushing for places around him, he would not be able to achieve what he has done. During lockdown, the excellent co-curricular work has continued. Please do look at the weekly mail to catch up on the latest productions and publications.
So our final set of prizes today are going to be announced by Mrs Davis, our Deputy Headmaster, who's joined me here on the stage, and the final three by me. These are for those who have made a particular contribution to school life over an extended period of time in school. Over to you, Mrs Davis.
Good afternoon to you all. It's my great pleasure to be awarding prizes for service to the community and the wider community and services and leadership within the school. I think Dean Close can be rightly proud all of the time at how we help to serve others and help others, how we take part in our community. But during this very strange period of lockdown, so many of you have contributed so much to other people, be it helping your parents deliver prescriptions, visiting at a distance elderly relatives and other people, or maybe just helping around at home. Also, I'm really proud of most of you within the house system, how you've supported other people within your houses, and the housemasters and housemistresses speak so warmly of the fantastic house assemblies and the contribution you have all made. So as has already been said, unfortunately we can't give everybody a prize, but you should all be rightly proud of yourselves and the contribution you have made. Moving on to the prizes, contribution to school life, services to the wider community prizes go to Izzy Edgley, who wins the Joyce Owers Cup, and Susie Main, who wins the Joyce Owers Prize. Services to the international community goes to members of the school that have served on the international committee and who have done an amazing job this year, including organising a number of fantastic dinners and really raising the profile of our international students. So the Colin Cox Prize goes to Kevin Z. The Gilts Prize goes to Feo Maukaladowu. The Elder Prize goes to Heian Lee. And the Douglas Graham Prize goes to Fei Wright. We have had a number of Upper Sixth students who've contributed a lot to the school as a whole, both during this year and during their whole time at Dean Close. So contribution to school life prizes, service to the school, go to Mobo Sunday Peters, Katie Hunt, Sam Porter, Hayley Colonette, and Freddie Thomas. Finally, the house system at Dean Close would not work without the Upper Sixth pupils who help the housemasters and housemistresses run the houses and keep everybody happy and safe. So leadership and house prizes go to Kenneth Harris, Freddie Shepherd, Emma Davis, Laura Rodriguez-Ares, Fergus Holland, James Humphreys, Verity Edwards, Izzy Turner and Matty Jones. Well done to you all, and I hope you all have a fantastic summer. Thank you.
Now, I rely on many different people to help me to do my job, and every other week, 3 pupils in particular have listened to my strange ideas, they've raised concern from others, and they've all instigated changes that needed to happen. So to Liam, Alice and Adam, I thank you for your terrific leadership, for the way you have respected your pupils and your peers and your colleague and the staff who work with you. And I have a huge amount of respect for your integrity and intelligence. We will hear more later from Adam, but for now the Clark Cup is awarded to Liam McInnes, the Clark Prize to Alice Deasy, and the Bolton Prize to Adam Gower. Many congratulations to all the prize winners, and we'll be sending out details later on about how you can collect those prizes. Now, it's always a tough time of year as we say goodbye to a number of staff and pupils. It happens every year, and we need to make sure that it is part of our ceremony as we acknowledge the contributions that these people have made to our school. So firstly, thank you to Mr. Gantz, who has been an outstanding graduate teaching assistant this year, thrown himself into language teaching, into games coaching, and has been a tremendous support to our chaplaincy work. Ms. Carter has been an extraordinary organ scholar, and in addition to being an outstanding musician, her positive attitude, her kindness has been a consistent presence to us, and we wish her well as she takes up her new post as assistant organist at Salisbury Cathedral. Mrs. Briggs has been an absolutely superb house mistress, an English teacher and tutor. Her wonderful ability to combine high standards and consistency with kindness and love is a real example to us all. She is an outstanding professional, and it is no surprise that she was successful in her application to be Deputy Head Pastoral at Sherborne Girls' School from September. Miss Archer is a 100% school teacher who has been a brilliant member of the Classics department for the last 4 years. Forley and Turner House will miss her hugely, and she has regularly been seen urging on her charges on a hockey pitch. Miss Archer has taken up a new post at Cheltenham Ladies College, where I fully expect she will continue to be wholehearted in everything she does, and a superb example to many. We say farewell too to Mrs. Spring-Wallace, who has been a committed and creative teacher of English and a house tutor for the last 6 years. There is an overwhelming sense of calm that exudes from Mrs. Spring-Wallace. It's in her classroom, and it's in the consistent way that she looks after her tutees. Mrs. Spring-Wallace is moving to Balcarras School for a fresh challenge and the chance to develop her practice in a different context. Now, in years to come, I suspect that a group of Dean Close pupils will meet in a pub or a restaurant, and fellow diners will be bemused as they call each other Chief. Pass the salt, Chief. Would you like another drink, Chief? And when asked why, they will think back to their physics lessons, to their evenings in Gate House, or maybe to conversations on the way to the first tea with Mr. Harvey. We have been fortunate over the last 7 years to be the recipients of Mr. Harvey's years of experience, his phenomenal intelligence and wisdom. When you spend any time with Mr. Harvey, you just get that sense that you're in safe hands. He loves his subject, physics. He cares very deeply about the future of every pupil he teaches, and he has been a terrific colleague for many of us to turn to. And as he retires and looks to serve his community in new ways, he leaves us with our profound gratitude. The health centre is a place that pupils turn to when they are at a weak point, and whether it is looking for help with an immediate injury, maybe consistent help with an ongoing condition, or a quick fix for a headache. But for many years, we have been fortunate to have a consistent team of nurses and pastoral staff who have made themselves available at all hours to care for Decanians. And this year we are saying goodbye with thanks to 4 ladies who have arrived each day, never knowing what will come their way. Through swine flu and coronavirus, broken legs, emergency treatments for anaphylactic shock, and the annual line of boys and girls who are trying to get out of cross-country or that difficult away match. So this year we say goodbye and thanks to Debbie Sharples, to Fiona Nelson, and to Jackie Reed. Now there are 3 members of staff who have worked all at Dean Close for 30 years, so the final member of that health centre team is Mrs. Sally Ann Fowler, but we also say farewell to Mrs. Julie Kent and Mrs. Helen Porter. Now I've been at Dean Close for 11 years, so I'm aware that I've only really been here for about a third of these colleagues' time. So this week I had a Zoom call with my predecessors, Jonathan Lancashire and Tim Hasty-Smith, to share some stories about these 3 committed professionals. And here is a taste of that conversation. Jess, thank you very much for joining us today and for being part of this assembly at the end of this very strange term. I just wonder, I might ask you just to introduce yourselves for everybody. Maybe Tim, if you could just say a little bit about your connections to Dean Close and where do you fit into all of this?
I probably have the longest sort of connection in terms of I was headmaster from I think 1998, something like that, till about 2008, and had the privilege of knowing Sally Ann Fowler and Julie Kent and Helen Porter throughout that time. And 3 of my children actually went to Dean Close as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And Jonathan?
Well, I have Tim to thank for my connection with Dean Close because he appointed me as the bursar back in 2000. So I was there doing that job until 2008, and then I followed him as head until, I guess, about 2017. And my son also entered Dean Close, so that's my connection.
Brilliant. And then I neatly follow on because Jonathan appointed me to be deputy head, and then when we changed our structure, I took responsibility for the senior part of the school. So not doing the full job that both of you did, but a small slice of that, and it's been a real privilege to follow in both of your footsteps. So thank you very much indeed for my inheritance, gratefully received. Tim, I was wondering if you could start us off, tell us a little bit about Sally Ann Fowler, who's been our nurse here for over 30 years. Any recollections of Sally? What kind of a person was she when you worked with her?
Incredibly adaptable, I think would be the word. When I arrived at Dean Close in 1998, they just sold the sanatorium, which was in Glencairn Park Road. And Sally Ann, all I just remember, she never complained the fact that the SAN that she had no longer existed, which was rather a nice place where, for the time being, I think the deputy head lived. And Sally Ann found herself in really extraordinarily cramped conditions, and yet she just made the most of where she was. She was extraordinarily adaptable, just makes the most of any and every situation, and is businesslike and positive, and determined to do the very best for the children, the young people in the school.
Yeah, thank you. And how about you, Jonathan? Any thought, maybe particularly maybe a role as Burst and then as head and warden?
Well, indeed. I think it's a very interesting role that you have in the health centre at a school, because it's somewhere between caring and health. It's also got a huge pastoral slice, and then again, it's got a sort of disciplinary thing. I was thinking about the off-games queue that would arrive in the morning, hoping not to have to play hockey in the rain. And if they got Sally, it was a bit difficult to pull wool over her eyes. So she was always pretty crisp about those who were swinging the lead, which is impressive.
Moving on now to Helen Porter. Now, Mrs. Porter is somebody that we've been missing from school this year, but you will have seen her at different stages in her career. And again, I might just start with you, Tim, as well on your maybe an encounter that you have with Helen or a memory. What do you remember her as a musician, as a director of music, as a music teacher?
I think the word that comes to mind when I think of Helen, and this refers to both as a person and a musician, is humility. She was and is the most remarkable accompanist, and everything she did was in order to enable others to shine. So as an accompanist, it was always to allow other people to shine. And I remember when it came down to appointing a new director of music, Helen understated herself and underplayed herself, and put it like that. And then suddenly the penny dropped that here was a musician, and that this is in no way to denigrate in any way other directors of music, but most directors of music do quite enjoy conducting the entire orchestra and dressing in tails or whatever and being right at the centre of what goes on. Helen almost did that apologetically, and I remember that she felt as director of music she had to conduct the main orchestra, not because she wanted to necessarily. She felt others possibly could do it better than she could, but she felt it was important she was seen there. And so even in the biggest environment, everything she did was for the benefit of others. She wanted others to shine. She was the one whereby others actually got far better. And I think as a director of music, she has been quite extraordinary in that ability, both a very, very gifted musician herself, but someone whose entire intention has been to get others to shine.
Absolutely see that. Absolutely. Thank you. And Jonathan, how about you? And any sort of thoughts on Helen?
Yep. Well, the magic word I wrote down thinking about Helen as a director of music was generosity. I thought she was amazingly generous with her skill and her time to all sorts of young people. And I'm thinking of things like when Brenna Tin was competing to be young musician. And so on a Sunday afternoon, Helen would drive her to somewhere like Truro for a competition round, give her lunch, drive her back, give her supper, go home and see her family for about 2 hours, and then be back in leading chapel on Monday. And it's quite remarkable how generous she always was with her time. Inspirational in a very quiet way, I have put. She's the one who sidled into my office when Rob Bishop left as head of strings and said, "I've had an idea." And I said, "Do tell me, Helen." And she said, "I think we should appoint a quartet in residence." And the rest is history with the Carduccis. But that was entirely a Helen-generated notion, and I think it gave us a huge amount. And I think she was always on the lookout for things.
So finally to Mrs. Julie Kent, who again starts off in the music department as a teacher of saxophone, but now has done 23 years as a house mistress in both Mead House and then Shelburne House. And I suspect we could be here for some time sharing stories. So what do you think, however, would be a lasting memory for you, Tim, of Julie Kent?
She's first and foremost someone who is absolutely driven by relationship. That is a remarkable gift. And she never got bored of people. She was just extraordinarily generous with her time. She was also incredibly, again, humble in her understanding that she needed people. And she would make light of that, but that was true too. And therefore, Julie would just give. I remember when our son Edward was having a particularly tough time, the one place he would go to was Julie. He knew that she was a person who always had time. And so it wasn't just the girls, it wasn't just the boys, it was everybody. She would always have time for, and whatever she did, and again, she said this in her own words, she would give 100% every time.
Thank you very much indeed. Jonathan?
When I did a little bit of a talk at her 50th bash, I again tried to bring it down to one word, and the word I came up with was heart for Mrs. Kent. In terms of Dean Close having a very active heartbeat, she was unquestionably in there very close to the centre of it. She wanted everybody to be a part of the place, to feel cared for and loved, and she put so much into doing that.
She's a very different character to me, and yet has always been incredibly patient and generous. And that I've seen in her way that she really involves the whole community in Dean Close. So she doesn't stick within the barriers and the confines of this school and our fences, but actually really is completely plugged in and really walks the walk and talks the talk. You know, she has raised thousands for charity for various causes close to her heart, and also just enabled us to connect with our community in a new way. So I think that sense of not being limited to certain people or certain types, there was nobody outside of her, outside that she would not be interested in and care about. So I think it's extraordinary listening to you both talking about these three people, and who over the years, actually there's something which has sustained all the way through, which for a long career and a long history, they've held on to that core of adaptability and humility and kindness and generosity. And we're going to miss them enormously. I really appreciate taking the time today to be with us. Thank you very much indeed, Tim, and to Jonathan. And please do feel very welcome at Dean Close anytime. As I say, we very much walk in your shoes, so thank you for that. So to all of our leavers, our staff and our pupils, in a very real sense, I want to say to you, this school would not have been the same place without you in it. You have all had an impact, and I hope that you feel prepared and ready for the next stage, whatever that may be. And so to the upper sixth in particular, congratulations on finishing school. You are having to find new ways to mark this milestone, but do not underestimate what a significant stage this is. And I'm so looking forward to hearing about the choices that you make in the years to come. Now, there are things that happen in a school year that draw a community together and highlights what is really important. And we've had a fair share of those events this year. But this week we've been forced to dig deep after we heard the news about the death of Angus Caton as a result of a brain tumour. Now, it is entirely right that this news is impacting on you in very different ways, because some of you knew Angus really well for many years. For others, he has been in your lessons or your house this year, and for some, he is someone that you are aware of but never had the chance to speak to or get to know. Mr. and Mrs. Caton wrote to me this week and spoke about the ripples that Angus created, and I can absolutely see those ripples. It has been an amazing week to hear all of your Angus stories. So we're going to pause for a moment, and you will all have a chance to read Mr. and Mrs. Caton's comment on our community, to recognise the place that we need to continue to be, and the impact that Angus has had on us. After a pause, I'm going to read the words of Mr. Price's house report for Angus that he received on the day before he died. Mr. Price wrote this in his last Housemaster report. Angus has brought so much to Dale House and the wider school community this year. His beaming smile, his idiosyncratic and interesting points of view that challenge your thinking, the way he questions the status quo, the way he treats everybody the same, his self-confidence to be himself, his offbeat humour, his honesty, his integrity, his positivity, his resilience. I could go on and on. As such, he has made a huge impact on all those around him. He's even won over the grisly upper sixth with his regular biltong raids at break time on a Friday. In summary, it's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to be the housemaster of this remarkable young man this year. Now, we started this year with a set of assumptions, a pattern that the year would fall into. And as humans, we love patterns. They help us to predict what our days will be like, and they give us certainty. And when you all start at Dean Close, you need to work out where your lessons are. How does the lunch queue work? Where do I sit in chapel? What is that teacher like? What upsets that person? What makes that person laugh? And this year has been one in which our patterns have been disrupted in our school routines and in our societies, from the way that we shop to how we spend our time with friends. But we've also been challenged to think hard about the assumptions that we make about people, particularly about how we see people from different racial and ethnic groups. And we are being asked the question, have we programmed our brains to fit people into a pattern that makes our lives predictable? So my summer homework for us all is to take the time to reflect and to read and to talk about our assumptions. Is our aim just to return to normal, or is there a better way of living? Are the values that have shaped my decisions still the best? Do I have fixed views about people who belong to a certain group that prevent me from seeing the person? Everything that I have seen about you as pupils and my colleagues this year tells me that we are capable of challenging our assumptions, of building relationships in a different way and flourishing in new ways. There is so much opportunity for us to grow in these disrupted times. I cannot think of a single year in my teaching career that at the end of the summer term, I cannot wait for the start of the new year. It will be brilliant to see pupils and teachers in school again, to have a time when we can celebrate with this year's upper sixth leavers, hopefully in September, if not December. And it's important that we do that. So the final word of this year belongs to the head of school, Adam Gower, and to the leavers. I hope you all have a wonderful summer.
Hi everyone. On behalf of Upper Sixth, I'd like to congratulate all pupils and staff on such an amazing year. I can honestly say that the group of people I've met here are the best group of people I've met in my life. After joining 2 years ago, I was completely terrified to join a new school. But after meeting everyone here and realising how friendly everyone was, I realised I had nothing to worry about. I'm sure everyone here will achieve great things in the future, as Dean Close has prepared us so well, no matter what path people go down. Me, Alice and Liam have put together a short clip just to show you the Upper Sixth journey through our education. I hope everyone has a great summer, and thank you all so much for the memories made, and good luck for the future.